Yes, now having seen that two options, that is, one is exit from the account, second one is restructuring or rescheduling we have discussed, then the third option will come. Third option available to the bank is rehabilitation. What is rehabilitation? Name itself, rehabilitate. If something wrong with the unit, yes, it may be rehabilitated properly so that it can come out from present difficulties. Okay, now rehabilitation is generally considered for sick units. It is means gone. It's a doubtful. It has become a doubtful or substandard. Such units only, provided their units are viable. And the precondition is that always the viability should be established. If the unit is not viable, then there is no meaning in considering any rehabilitation. Even that restructuring also, it is of meaning. That is a futile exercise. Here the rehabilitation, one precondition is that the viability should be established. It should be a viable unit. After a particular period, that period we will discuss later on, what is the benchmark period is fixed for this kind of units. So viability period, and here also the period, within a particular period, if the unit is in a position to service the interest and installments as and when it is due, then it is known as a viable unit. And some guidelines are given. The bank should ensure that the units taken up for restructuring achieves the viability in 8 years if it is engaged in infrastructure. If a unit which is engaged in the infrastructure, then a maximum period of 8 years, it should be in a position to service the interest and installment dues. And in the case of other units, other than infrastructure, this is the minimum 5 years, and it should be viability should be established within a period of 5 years in all other cases. And prior to this is based on the working group recommendations. This period of viability, the viability period has been modified, was reduced. Earlier it was 7 years in the case of non-infrastructure units and 10 years in the case of infrastructure units. Now the present guidelines says it should be viable and it should be in a position to service the liabilities within a period of 5 years in the case of other units and 8 years in the case of infrastructure units. Then comes some benchmark guidelines are also given, how to examine, how to ascertain whether the unit is in a position, whether the unit has already attained the viability or not. Here the benchmark rate is 4 parameters are to be seen, or to be examined. One is that debt service coverage ratio, the ability to service the interest and installments after this period of viability, means after the viability period. Second one is that the return on capital employed, another parameter. Third one is the internal rate of return, that is a gap between internal rate of return and cost of funds. That is, if the whatever the negative feature it was there, the gap between internal rate of return means what these accruals are coming. It's a different formula is there how to work out the internal rate, and what is the cost of funds. If the internal rate of return has improved, and if at least to the extent at least equal to the cost of the funds required, then it is nearing or it has come to the viability. If it is exceeding, if the IRR is more than the cost of funds, then naturally it has achieved a viability status. Then another point is that we have seen that it is a debt service coverage ratio has been improved. Then the cost of capital employed, it is also improved. Then the gap between the internal rate of return and cost of funds also showing the improvement. And the last one is the provision required in lieu of the diminution of the assets. In due course, assets are getting deteriorated, so the value gets deteriorated. Assets are getting depreciated and the value get depreciated, and diminution of the fair value of the restructured advances. So some guidelines are there. I would like to switch over to Vera. So we have discussed now what are the parameters, what are the benchmark levels to be examined for ascertaining whether the unit has achieved the viability. That as I said, one is the return on the capital employed. Another one is the debt service coverage ratio, DSCR. Third one is the gap between IRR and the cost of funds. and fourth, this diminution in the fair value of the assets. So what are the parameters? What is the benchmark levels fixed on against each of these parameters? Each of the parameters, yes. Now first one is return on capital. It is return on the capital employed should be at least equivalent to 5-year government security plus 2%. Means yield should be 2% above the 5-year government security. It should be at least equal to, actually equivalent to, the return on the capital should be equivalent to 5-year government security plus 5-year government security yield plus 2%. So far as the DSCR is concerned, it should be greater than 1.25. The ideal DSCR is taken as 2, whereas in the case of this restructuring, it gradually improves. So in this case, if the DSCR is achieved, is greater than 1.25 within 5 years period in which the unit should become viable, and year on year basis, the ratio should above 1. And even if year on year basis also, it should be above 1 or above. And it should, at least within a period of 5 years, it should have achieved 1.25. And the normal DSCR for 10 years repayment period should be 1.33. If it is a restructuring is for 10, now we cannot consider more than 8 years for infrastructure, but it's a 10-year period, then it should be, here it is 8-year period, it should be 1.33. The gap between IRR and cost of funds should be at least 1%. That means IRR should be more than 1% of the cost of funds. That it shows that it is income is generated, that total accruals are more than this discounted value of the accruals, estimated discounted value of the accruals are more than the cost of funds. That is at least to the extent of 1%. Then operating and cash break-even points should be worked out as they should be comparable with the industry norms. Industry norms ka basis super this operating and cash break-even points to be worked out. The trends of the company based on the historical data and future projections should be comparable with the industry. Then another parameter is LLR. LLR is loan. That LLR recommends loan life ratio. Loan life ratio, popularly known as LLR. It should be, it is worked out or commuted the percentage of total available cash flow during the loan period divided by the total outstanding. That is the present value, or not percentage, the present value of the total available cash flow during the loan life period divided by the total dues. So if that ratio shows that 1.4, it indicates that yes, this unit is having 40% surplus to take care of the repayment obligations. These are the these are the parameters or benchmark levels fixed by the Reserve Bank of India to consider or to treat that the unit is achieving this viability status during this period. See, while talking on this rehabilitation, we said it should be a viable SIC unit. SIC unit, what is the definition? For two types of SIC units, there is SME SIC units, then other than SMEs. The SIC unit definition is that a unit or an enterprise is considered a SIC when any of its borrowed accounts has become doubtful advance as defined by Reserve Bank of India. That is, the principal or interest in respect of any of its borrowed accounts has remained overdue for a period exceeding 90 days. That we have seen in the earlier this one, 90 days, and there is erosion of net worth to the extent of 50%, 50% or more at its, of its peak net worth of the preceding accounting years, subject to the provision that the unit has completed 2 full years of commercial production. Then this is the definition for all other units, whereas in the case of SME units, this definition gets diluted. That is, so far as an SME unit is concerned, the SME unit can be classified as SIC unit. A unit can be classified as SME unit can be classified as a SIC when there is erosion in the net worth to the extent of 50% due to accumulated cash losses. Cash losses, that is losses without factoring this depreciation. So these are the two definitions which are given for SMA unit as well as other than SMA unit. Now let us discuss on the third option. Before that, we will talk on what are the concessions being given under when a unit is put under restructuring. Various reliefs and concessions for rehabilitation that viable units includes reversal of the penal interest and other damages already charged from the accounting year of the unit in which it started incurring the loss. Sub se ye cash loss start kiya, tab se whatever interest and penal damages, penal interest and other thing charged can be reversed. And reduction in the rate of interest, it is another restructuring concessions under the restructuring package. Then working rate of interest, concession rate of interest, both term loan as well as working capital. Then conversion of the irregularities in working capital to working capital term loan, and whatever accrued interest which are not paid, unpaid accrued interest can be converted into or converted into FITL or financing of the cash losses. These are the concessions which are normally being considered by the banks, and with that also within they are well within the ambit of the parameters fixed by the Reserve Bank of India. Now coming to another option. Another option, we see that we have now discussed three options, that is exit from the account, second one is restructuring, third one is rehabilitation. Now coming to the fourth one, that is compromise. Yes, by considering all these things are also not feasible, in that case bank can offer a compromise proposition with some concessions. Yes, interest and other thing, we can give, bank may give some offer with some concessions. Thereby bank can get back its dues, whatever available, whatever the borrower can repay. So compromise with some concession can be offered where the restructuring rehabilitation is not found feasible. Banks are given the discretion to evolve. Every bank has got their own discretion to evolve a suitable package, evolve their own strategy or their own compromise proposals. Then another option, the fourth one is legal action. Yes, then if these things are not at all viable, not at all feasible, all these four options are not feasible, then bank has no other way left. Bank has to resort to taking remedial measures or recovery measures, that includes legal action. Legal action, it can be, suppose in most of the states they appoint the recovery officers. So bank in government sponsored schemes, the bank can take the help of or take the assistance of the recovery officers for recovery of the dues in the government sponsored schemes. Then comes civil litigation. Then civil litigation, yes, dues up to 10 lakhs can be preferred, can be filed, can be preferred, can be considered under civil litigation. That civil litigation, the one drawback is that it is highly time consuming. It normally takes minimum 5 to 7 years, 5 to 10 years, like that. Immediately no action will be there. Once you file, it is going to the cold storage, and after 5 years or something only it will come out. So in the case of civil litigation, there are 2-3 stages are involved. The main 3 stages are involved. That is pre-filing stage, what are the precautions to be taken? Then filing stage, what are the precautions to be taken? Then post-filing stage. We will just touch what are the precautions to be taken by a banker during all these stages. In the pre-filing stage, first of all, verification of the document, whether the documents are executed by the borrower in order or not. Without this one, even when the matter is going to the court, the other side advocate will immediately point out these documents are not valid because of this reason, technical reasons. So they should thorough scrutiny of the documents. Then comes inspection of the security asset, whether the security, what is asset created and collaterals available are there or not. Then third point is set of whatever credit balances lying in the other account should be set off. And if it is a pledge facility, yes, take possession and sell it off. Sale of pledged goods. Determining then which court it should be filed. Suppose in some other court it is filed, then naturally that case will be would not be entertained. Then rejoinder, misjoinder in parties cause of action. Rejoinder, misrejoinder means suppose a particular borrower, he has got various facilities and there are various guarantors are involved. In that case, this matter, the payment should be drafted in such a way that the rejoinder, misjoinder of parties should be taken care of. Then serving the recall notice, that is also precondition before filing any suit. Notice on borrowers, guarantors, legal heirs of the deceased borrowers. Then comes the preparation of the plaint. Then any uncharged interest, that also should be added. Then verification, then once the plaint is prepared, at that time bank should see that all uncharged interests are also claimed in the included in the plaint for getting the recovery. Then verification of the plaint, yes, plaint is properly drafted or not. Then filing stage, what are the things to be seen? Yes, the filing stage, suits can be filed for two categories, which is money suit and some money suit or summary suit or mortgage suit. Where there is no security, no mortgage is available, no security is available, bank prefer to go in for money suit to recover from the borrower and guarantors. Whereas the mortgage is mortgage or any other mortgage of a sublanded property is involved, then bank will go file a mortgage suit, that is this realization of the security as well as going against the borrower and guarantors. Then plaint, it should also be ascertained who is authorized to sign the plaint. This may also technical reason, sometimes it may be brought to the notice of the court by the other defendant's advocate, saying that this authority has, the person who has signed the plaint, he doesn't have the authority. If that is proved, that the plaint will be dedrafted and the bank has to reapproach the court again. Then payment to advocates, then comes post filing. Once it is filed and suit is filed, then during the hearing time itself, at the request of the bank can consider appointment of the interim receiver, attachment injection. Suppose suit is filed, then naturally the borrower tend to dispose of his security. That should not be the borrower should not be allowed to do this. So bank may seek attachment order or injunction in lieu of the appointment of the receiver. If receiver is appointed, then he will take care of the entire security. Then interim, suppose the securities are such, it is it should be disposed fast, then the bank can approach the court for suitable order for permitting for interim disposal of the assets available pending final decision of the suit. Then interim attachment injunction, then matter should be thoroughly followed up with the advocate, else the matter should not move. So these are the precautions to be taken by the banker during all these stages. Then another forum is available is Lok Adalat. Lok Adalat is another option is available to avail the service of the Lok Adalat. That is, it is known as People's Court for settlement of the dues involving the amounts up to 20 lakhs. Earlier it was 10 lakhs, now it is extended to 20 lakhs. The forum has been conferred by statutory basis under the Legal Service Authority Act 1987. This is a legal forum. Now comes another one, another option is available, Debt Recovery Tribunal. It is just like a court only, where the total dues of 10 lakhs and above suit can be filed for dues, for recovery of the dues of 10 lakhs and above in the Debt Recovery Tribunal. So this is also another option, that is this comes under legal action. Then under SARFAESI, banks have got another option, that is filing a suit for recovery of the dues above 1 lakh under the SARFAESI. SARFAESI means Securities and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement Security Interest Act, which was enacted in 2002. This is another option available to the banks, and wherein bank has got the authority to take possession of the stock, possession of the assets charged to the bank, and disposal of the assets faster than going for filing a suit with other civil court or DRT. So this act also provides securitization, assets reconstruction, and enforcement of the security without the intervention of the court. Then comes the last option, that is a write-off. All the options are applied, then bank finds that it's of no use, or all the options they examined, and bank has come to the conclusion that yes, by going all these options it is of not much effect or not fruitful, then bank may consider, and the borrower doesn't have any other property, any other security, and he is not willing to pay. In that case, bank can consider for this one write-off of the amount from its books. The write-off by debiting entire dues to the P&L, income, profit and loss, and bank will continue with their efforts for recovering the dues even after the write-off. That their right is there because all the documents are there, so they write off. But normally what happening in the bank, once the write-off is taken place, then bank staff will also forget about the account, and this borrower will move scot-free. So friends, we have, in nutshell, we have discussed what is trust asset, what is actually NPA, the asset classification guidelines, restructuring guidelines, rehabilitation guidelines, and also what are the options available to the bank, and we have also touched the options in brief. Okay, having discussed all the things, I take it that you have got a fair idea about this, all these aspects. Now with this, our session concludes. I thank you everyone.